All right, so we have rise of nationalism and the world headed to war. That's what this says. It does this every time. So that's where we are. It's going to zoom out there so you can see it. And we've talked about nationalism before, but we didn't name it. We talked about several things in this series, but we didn't name them. We've talked about a bunch of different pieces that are going to add up to World War I. We just didn't name them for what they were. So what was our last unit? Last unit, what was it called? You just finished it on Friday last week. What was the unit about?
Revolution.
Well, it did revolution. What was it? What was the title though?
Exploration.
Well, it was about exploration too, but it wasn't titled that. It's a word I've said to you like 300 times. I'm not joking.
Imperialism.
Thanks, Cameron. It was Mr. Preston, or yes, Preston Cameron. Your name bothers me. I keep getting it backwards. I do that when I look for him. I get his name backwards. Thank you for knowing what the rest of us are supposed to be talking about and keeping track of me. All right, so it's imperialism. Imperialism is the word. If you don't know that word, imperialism, 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 in case you need a couple hundred more times, Mr. Smithy and I have said it to you a bunch because it was really important. We needed you to remember it. Do you know this word? You've heard this word? Yes? Yes? Okay. So we're going to make sure that if we don't know the definition to that word, even though it was on our set of definitions, today we are going to learn the definition to that word because we need it. It's important. We still talk about it today. It's a current topic in discussion in the news. You need to know this word. All right, so imperialism. That was our last unit. The funny thing about imperialism is you can't have imperialism if you don't have countries. One nation can't take over another nation if you don't have nations, right? That's a basic concept. If you know, he's going to take over Randon's territory, if he doesn't have a country, he can't take it over. And how many people? So this is kind of where we are. We're at this basic idea. So the last unit we did was imperialism. This unit, I'm getting shocked, is going to talk a lot about nationalism, a lot about imperialism, a lot about militarism. Lots of isms there. It's also going to talk about alliances and even a little bit about assassination. All right, but here are our questions. If I was you, I would take these questions, put them on my document, and as I lecture, I would go through and answer these questions for sure, because guess what? Your assignment after this lecture series is to answer these questions. Not only have I left you references in the Prezi, but I've also grabbed some of the important stuff and shoved it into the Prezi for you. These questions are your assignment. It's going to ask you for a paragraph each. So at least 4 or 5 good sentences each. That's not that bad. And reason being, I want to see if you can take what I'm telling you, take what's written down, take what's in the websites that are left for you, and put it in together and make some kind of sense out of it. Because if you can't make sense of the history after all 3 of those things, then we need to stop and talk about it. So I need to know what you know, so I need it done rather quickly. And if you do it this way, maybe, just maybe, it'll help us all out. I was thinking that maybe it would help us direct where we go next. Because we can't talk about World War I itself if you don't understand what started it. That doesn't do us any good. So the first question says, what is nationalism and how did it affect Europe leading up to World War I? So define it and tell me how it affected. Number 2, what fueled pre-war nationalism for Europe and the world? Number 3, why was rising nationalism a factor in the Balkans' quest for independence? That one's awfully specific. Number 4, how did nationalism affect literature? I'm looking at newspapers specifically. So I'm looking at the news specifically in Europe. So what are some of the things that are appearing in the newspaper? Number 5. What were the causes of World War I that were exacerbated or made worse by strong nationalism? So there are several causes. There are 5 causes. Nationalism is just one of them. So I want to know what happened to the other 4 causes because of nationalism. For those of you that are turned around, I mean, it might be easier if you turn your chair around, put your feet on the left hand. Just my thought. I wouldn't want to be turning around the whole time. That's just, I couldn't do it. I'd end up with a headache. Mary Catherine, if you want to wave, you can. Outside, it's cold. And it's snow. It still is. Barely. Okay. I'm going to start talking about a little bit about nationalism and what's happening, and then I'm going to show you the slides that go with it while the rest of you finish, okay? A little out of order, but it'll help those of us that are trying to finish typing. All right, so when I talk about nationalism, one of the major things to realize is that it's tied quite closely to imperialism. So let's say that Arthur here has his own little kingdom, right? Arthur has his castle and his serfs, and he's got his own little kingdom. We're going all the way back to the Renaissance. Before imperialism. Okay, so Arthur's going to set up his little castle and he's got his own little knights, and guess what? He's got some really strong knights. He sees Trevor and Anastasia there, and he decides that he's going to take them over. So Trevor puts up a good fight. I don't know, Anna probably puts up a pretty good fight too, but still Arthur dominates and he takes over the area. Now here's what's going to be interesting about this. Their people are going to associate with Arthur, not anybody else in the area. They're going to say, I'm his person, I belong to him. Eventually, Arthur's going to take over the entire class. So all of your kingdoms are going to go to him, right? He's going to create his own imperialist power. He's going to take over. He's going to then, as he passes the thing down to his children and on through the line, they're going to lose a little bit of I belong to Arthur and his family. They're going to come to think that they belong to this area, this region, this part of the country. So whatever he calls his part of the country, that's what they're going to name themselves. So the Franks became French, right? So you've got this whole group of people. We are Franks. And over time it becomes we are French. And they become more and more that way. The more you have that country identity, the more you have nationalism. And once you have nationalism, you can truly start to bring about everything else. The imperialism, the alliance systems, the assassination's going to come with it. But you're going to bring in that militarism most definitely. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in this time period, and it's all happening at once. At least that's how it looks in a history book. The bad thing is, for us, we section history. We say, all right, this is the Renaissance time period, and you guys get the idea that once we leave the Renaissance, nothing that happened there goes on to the next period. But you have to think it doesn't do that. Kind of like everything that you had happen in 6th grade and 7th grade in middle school, it didn't stop, right? You had to bring all the stuff that you learned in kindergarten through 7 and bring it into junior high. Well, that's the same thing with the time period. It works the same way. We have to keep moving on that continuum of history. We didn't forget it all, we just we lose pieces, but not all of it. So I want you to understand some piece of nationalism, and that 2-minute and 38-second video gave you the basics of how nationalism started. So you watch that, I'm going to leave that to you. What I am going to do is try to bring it home to you. Because I think a lot of us look at these videos and we're like, okay, whatever, Miss Henderson. And then we don't really go, oh, I get that. I don't know if y'all do that, but I'm like, I try to make all of those things that I watch on TV or books that I read, I try to bring it home and make an example I understand. Because if I can't, I don't know it. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So I need to make that example close. So here's what I'm going to do. I want you to think of school. We'll use the middle school that you went to. So the middle school that you went to, whichever one it was, that was your home school. You probably felt pretty comfortable there. You could walk around there, you knew a bunch of people, you knew how the people were going to act and react to you. As you walked through that middle school, you felt you belonged to that school. Those people claimed you. At least I know what you did at J.O. Kelly. Claimed those children as ours. Even if they went to other schools, we still tried to claim them. Okay. That was your country. You were part of whatever country it was. And the principals, they play that game of, we're better than you are, we're the best. They do that. I listened to Ms. Ford on several occasions say over and over and over, we're going to get those people, whichever ones it happened to be, whatever one was ahead. You heard her say it, yeah. So she would say, and usually it was like Helen Tyson or Hellstern or, sometimes she'd pick at Sonora, but usually it was Helen Tyson or Hellstern. And we wanted to be better than them. We were going to beat them. Get them, get them, get them. Especially if it was soccer. We had the soccer games and we definitely wanted to beat them. Yeah. Now, whether we did or not, it was kind of irrelevant. It was the bragging rights that we had. So when you think about that, that in a small little way is what national pride is. That's what that nationalism is. So you had that school nationalism. It was a healthy pride. It's not what we're talking about, but it makes you understand where we're coming from. Okay? So when you hold that in your head, you hold that idea of what it was like at that school, that you were proud of being there, that you cheered on for whatever, or even today if you go out and cheer for the football teams at your home schools. That's a healthy pride. This is not. This is more like the Ku Klux Klan looking at another race group and going, we're better than you are! Kill, kill, blood makes the grass grow! That kind of thing. It's a really old football chant from my dad's era. It does not, it's salty. Why do kids always ask me, blood makes the grass grow? No, it's salty. It's just the chant. They were just trying to get them to beat the other team. Yeah, it's really gross, but That pride, though, that they feel is not a healthy pride, right? They're doing it to the exclusion of all others. They want to destroy the other group. I don't mean just like, ooh, we want to beat them at football. No, we want to kill them.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a difference here. There's a big difference here between I'm proud to be who I am and I want to kill you because you're not what I think you should be. Exactly like that. That's exactly what this is. So when you're looking at this nationalism, first off, there's a huge debate in history whether nationalism led to imperialism or imperialism led to nationalism. I stand on the side that if you don't have nations, you can't have imperialism. Without a nation, you got no army. Without an army, you got no imperialism. You could make it the other way around. Imperialism, Arthur took over the whole area, made a country. You could go both directions, but I kind of look at it and go, back then it was more like I'm greedy and I want land. It's not because I have pride in who I am. It's just I'm greedy and I want more land. All right, are we done typing these in? Can I change the slide?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. So,
June 28th, 1914 in Sarajevo, the capital of Serbia. 2 bullets fired by an angry Serbian nationalist kill Archduke Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. His murder destabilized an already tense Europe and sparked the First World War. Conflict had built for the past 50 years as many European powers claimed new colonies and beefed up their militaries. Everyone wanted more land, resources, and power.
The British had an empire, the French had an empire, the Germans had and wanted an empire. And as these empires collided, it created great friction.
But Germany wasn't alone in the empire-building business. Nationalism was rampant in the European countries. To protect their interest and gain even more strength, these empires sought allies.
Starting at the beginning of the 20th century, the various powers of Europe began forming alliance systems. The British and the French allied against the Germans and eventually drew in the Russians. The Germans felt they needed help, so they allied with the Austrians. And then they eventually attached to the Ottoman Empire. So that by 1914, Europe had become an armed camp. Britain, France, Russia on one side. These are going to become the Allied powers. And Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire on the other side. These will be the Central Powers. By 1914, the alliance systems had been built in such a way that the slightest tremor could cause the whole structure to collapse.
And collapse it did. After the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia, a Serbian ally, then declared war on Austria-Hungary. The complicated web of alliances went into overdrive. England and France jumped in to protect Serbia, and Germany was more than willing to fight for Austria-Hungary. The U.S. joined the Allied powers in 1917, and by the end, over 100 countries participated, even ones as far away as Japan and Bolivia. The Great War finally ended in 1918.
Okay, so I don't know if you were listening carefully, but there is this alliance system, and eventually it's going to unfold that 100 countries are pulled into a war because one guy shot another. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to it too. He was a Serbian nationalism, Serbian national. Yeah. So he got to that point of bad nationalism, right? He got to that, you're not what I think you should be, so I'm going to execute you or murder you in the street in front of your family, which is what he did. Not good nationalism. That's not good nationalism at all. All right, if I was you, I would just write down the 5 words, because that's really all you need. The definitions you don't, but the 5 words you probably do. This is a really, really, really old acronym. In fact, this right here is from when I was in 8th grade, 9th grade, something like that, 8th grade, I guess. This came from my history teacher. I still have my notes from when. So this came from my history teacher, and it's on a piece of paper, and I took a picture of it. And so I put it back out for you because I think it's a fairly good way. It's an easy acronym. I mean, you can go Warmania and then you've got it all. So you've got militarism, it defines it, alliance, nationalism, imperialism, and assassination. So those are kind of nice. It's a kind of a nice way to remember this. Makes it easy, so you only need those 5 words. You can come get the rest of it if you don't know what they mean later on. You can come get them. But you just need the 5 words right now. Those are probably the best things. All right, so we've been talking about nationalism. I'm getting ready to show that to you. The alliance system tomorrow, we're going to sit down and we're going to draw a picture. It's a web. It's kind of like that, that game where you put the blocks together and you pull out enough blocks. Yeah, and finally you go, well, that's that guy, the Serbian national shooting Archduke Ferdinand, was the block too many and it all went crashing down. Took the alliance system with it and put it in 100 countries. Okay, because I was like, ooh, that makes sense, because everybody calls it a spider web, but if you pull one string in a spider web, you just put a hole in it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't quite work that way. All right, are we almost there on finish those? I got a couple of these. Okay. All right, so but next thing when it talks about nationalism, you're going to come up to the slide and it's going to show couple of pictures, and then I'm just gonna show you a big slide with a whole bunch, it says list of battles. Those are there for you. I'm not gonna go over them. You might look at them. I picked the biggest. So when you see the list, realize I picked the biggest battles from about 1860 to 1914. I picked the biggest ones, not the little bitty ones. So the list is like that long. I picked the big battles. You can tell that that time period before World War I, it wasn't like it was peaceful. It was constantly like bickering in the back seat of a car with brother and sister. It's constant. So they're nitpicking at each other and, you know, arguing with one another. All right, so we done? Good? Legend, can you get it off the print screen? Okay. Okay, so this is kind of what this looks like. You've got this nationalist guy who's the catalyst to the war, so the assassination, and then it puts it in reverse for us. These are all the other things that led to it. Look at all the arrows. I just want you to look at the arrows. Lots of arrows. Lots of arrows. Arrows make me dizzy. Too many. That's because this is like the perfect storm. It was gonna happen. It was just set, waiting. Just need a little bitty spark. Just like the guy said, one little tremble and the whole thing's coming down.
31.
Yeah. All right, so here's an example of nationalism in the press. So this is actually a time period cartoon. Remember I asked you what it was like in the newspapers. So this is a time period cartoon. And this is that same question that you get asked, right? If all your friends jump off a cliff, would you?
Yeah.
At this time period, yes. All the countries did. 100 of them. There weren't that many countries in the world. There's like, what, 125 countries in the world, so all the 25 of them jumped off the cliffs. By the way, if you catch this, Stars and Stripes. So this is coming out of an American paper in 1918. It's talking about the United States. We are not blind to nationalism. Oh my gosh, you got that, you know, proud to be an American. Heck, Chicken Fried has a whole verse about it, right? So we've got all these songs that tell us we're proud to be an American, and most of us, believe it or not, whether we agree with this or not, most of us are pretty proud that we're here. In fact, my whole job is to teach some of that. I usually use a different word for my job. My husband says I shouldn't say this because it's got a really bad connotation. It's a really negative connotation. I say that my job is to indoctrinate the young. You know, indoctrinating? Yeah, a lot like brainwashing. Yeah, my job is basically that. And I hate to say it that way, but it is in a great deal of thoughts. My job is to teach you national pride. That's a good section of my job. We teach you Arkansas history, right? That's state pride. We teach you American history 4 times. We only teach you world history once. That's, I mean, you start thinking about that a little bit. And, you know, I jokingly say this, but and a good bit of the, if you think about it really hard, yeah, that's a good bit of my job. And obviously, if we did what they used to do back then and taught history as much as they did back then, you would probably see a decrease in crime. We know that the more we teach you social studies, the less likely you are to commit a crime. Who knew? Because the more pride you have in your country, the less likely you are to break the laws of that country. Okay. So when we're talking about this, I want you to realize that I'm not so good at this. I'm so-so. I mean, it's not that I dislike the Americans, because I don't. But I also want thinking citizens. I refuse to create Hitler's youth. I want children to think, right? I don't want you to go, yes ma'am, and do that. No, I want you to think about it. If I give you an assignment, I really do want you to think. That's kind of my, ask for you is to do this. Think about it, write your opinion down. That's why Mr. Smithy and I are so well matched for that. We ask opinions, right? We ask a lot of opinions because we want to hear what you think. We also want you to develop those opinions and be able to argue your point. We're setting you up for That's what we're doing. So when we look at this nationalism stuff, you have to realize that from my point of view, I don't see nationalism as a bad thing. Nationalism isn't a bad thing. At least until you want to kill the other person because they're not what you think they should be. Okay, so it's like that football game again. If we want to kill, I don't know, Hellstrom Middle School, all the students there should die. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. That's not okay. If we just go, we want to beat them in soccer, we're going to get them. That's fine, I get that. But you see the difference, right? There's a huge jump off cliff here. All right, here's a really basic thing of what nationalism is. You can go grab this picture later on out of it. You can screenshot it out later. Basically, we want to share culture. We want to share history. Whoa. We want to. It helps to have a common religion. If you don't have a common religion, it helps to know the basic premises of those religions that are within the country. Thus, Mr. Smithy and I are supposed to teach a unit that goes through the basic religions. We're supposed to do it in 7th grade. We're supposed to do it in 8th grade. Do it again in like 11th grade. Shared language. The United States doesn't have a set language. There's no federal national language. But the unspoken, the unset down in rule, national language is of course English. Although by the time, let's see, in about 8-9 years, it's probably going to be either Spanish or Chinese. Because we'll have more of those people here than we will. Territory. You have to know what territory we own. Thus, Mr. Smithy and I made you learn the 50 states.
But we already know.
You should. Some of you do not. Obviously, I have people miss Arkansas.
Really? Right? For real?
Yeah. And I don't know who they are because I didn't look at the test. But I just know Mr. Smithy showed me we had 5 people miss Arkansas. I was like, oh, dude, that's easy because you know the shape of that one.
Anyone miss Texas?
Yeah, because they didn't know the capital of it. Hell, thought Dallas was capital, not Austin.
Yeah.
All right, so here's that list of battles. I told you it's a big stinking list of battles, but I will point out that down here is this whole section that's on the Balkans. So there's a whole section down here on the Balkans, and it talks about the first try, second try, and finally the Russians coming in, and you know who they made friends with and who they disliked. So you might look at that little bit there for your question. But basically, I want to show you the two maps that are up here. I put these. You can see that these are just the major, by the way, major wars. Look how small that print is. These are just the major wars. The ones that killed a couple 100,000 people.
Oh.
Not the ones that killed a few hundred. There would probably be, I couldn't even fill, the whole president would be full of just those. So let's look at these little ones here. So I want you to kind of snapshot this in your head. This is what Europe looked like right before the war started. Okay, Italy looks like Italy kind of. France kind of looks like France. There's like Luxembourg, little bitty that it is. Switzerland, Austria-Hungary is huge, right? All of this over here, there are very few colors over here. Today, there's a whole bunch of things, right?
Yeah.
Those, that's broken up into little bitty things. The German Empire, that's not a word we use today, we call it Germany, and it looks different because Austria and Germany have pieces of each other. Russia actually starts way over here, right? England, this has 2 countries in it, right? Yeah, you got Ireland in there. So I mean, you're looking at that going, huh? Well, this is what this is what Italy looked like before that. So here's what Italy looked like before. See all those different colors? Those are all different countries. That's what Arthur did. He took over all these different little things and he took over parts of it. Guess what else he did? He made friends with some bigger countries, like France. See here? Given to France in return for support in a bid for independence. So he had to give up a strip of land to France. Something, it's about the size of Springdale, all the area that Springdale holds. He had to give that to France so that he could get military support from them because he didn't have enough troops of his own. That's the next word that they talk about is alliances. So it says insert a graphic organizer here because we're going to do that probably tomorrow. But by the way, if you've got a better idea of how, I'm going to show you this one here in a second, of how to do this than me doing this again and talking through it, by all means send it to me. Because I looked around, I thought about this, I can't figure out a better one, so I'm going to reproduce this one tomorrow and talk it through. But I don't like it. If you got a better one, send it, I'll use it. But the alliance system, it works kind of like this. Our other political cartoon here. Serbia down here, right? Serbia National. And then all these guys come running in. You have friends in England in the back. Yeah, so it's over and over and over. These guys come running in, and it just becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger mess. It's like a pile at the bottom of football. All right, there's the graphic organizer. Y'all see what I mean? A little much, kind of dense.
Yeah.
So, but if y'all look at it and you can't see the words here are black, but you can see it if you pull it down here. If you think of something better, or you see something better, I'll use it. Just mail me or talk to me, whatever. Think of a better one. I tried. So, all right. Here's a map of the alliance system. The Ottoman Empire joins with the green here. Wait, no. Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have to say the green is a little bit
Well, no, they joined
You
the
got
red.
Russia now. Okay.
They joined the red. They joined the red. The Ottoman Empire is Turkey, basically. And that's what you have Ataturk for. Right? But they're really, really weak. They basically shouldn't have tried. They were done for. So
You get a medal. You get a gold star for trying.
they were done for. Is it time to go?
Get a bronze.
No, we have
I was like,
Just can't
wait.
stop.
Okay. I get that. He's much more important than I
They're
am.
gonna be okay.
Okay, again, political cartoons. I'm pulling these on purpose. I'm pulling political cartoons on purpose. Hope you realize that. What?
Did you say Ottoman Empire was green?
What? Ottoman Empire was with the red.
So which one?
Ottoman Empire was with the red. So you've got the arms race, the nationalist movement, Sarajevo, Pan-Slavism. Slavics are an ethnic group, right? They're just like there'd be like Native Americans in Europe. They're treated bad in Europe.
Wait, right now or during
A little bit of both. You don't generally go around saying you're Slavic in Europe. My background is Slavic. It's a mix of Mongolian, Middle Eastern, and like white European. That's what it is. It mostly is from Russia, but. So you've got the Triple Alliance, the Triple Entente, naval race, which is basically Great Britain and Spain. Well, Great Britain, the second half. Spain started, Great Britain finished. The colonial revival, that's taken over everybody and everything. Alsace and Lorraine. Alsace and Lorraine are a piece of France and Germany. And whenever one of the countries gets bored, whoever currently controls it, they go and take it over. So France goes, okay, Germany owns Alsace and Lorraine today. I'm bored, I'm gonna go take that over. That's kind of what happens there. It's kind of what Russia did to Poland. Every time Russia got bored, it'd go take over Poland. All right, again, lots of words here. And this is stuff we've already talked about. It's world domination, right? That's imperialism. Everybody wants to take over the world, so they all want to be pinky in the brain. Well, brain. Pinky's the smart one, brain's the insane one. So they all want to take over the world. And you've got this thing going through talking about the different empires and how stable or unstable they were. Of course, the big one here is that the imperial instability was another contribution. So you talk about the Ottoman Empire and how unstable it was, and it's causing huge problems. But again, I want you to realize that the Ottoman Empire is in the Middle East. That's where it is. It's in the Middle East. It's Turkey. So it's not stable. That area is never stable. It hasn't been stable for years, like hundreds of years, since the Crusades. So you're going through all this, and it's got different, it talks about each one of the big empires and how they're going to act and react to things. But I wanted to give you just a picture in your head. That's everything that England owns at the height of its imperialism. Yes.
So when did the British Guinea become French Guinea? Or however you say that. Or goes.
When the French take it after, probably around World War II. Because there's a huge, huge mess
But I thought
in
that
Africa.
I thought that they were both like in the Allies. Why would one try to take over the other?
Oh, they're not. They're drawing lines after World War II. They just draw lines. And literally like, okay, we're cutting up this piece, and you get this goes here, and it's called spheres of influence. Yeah. They owned Hong Kong until a few years ago. Hong Kong got given back in your lifetime.
I thought it was 1997.
I thought it was later than that. Is it 97?
I think so.
I thought it was like 2001, but I could totally be wrong.
Yeah, July 1st, 1997.
Well, there you go. So, a few years before you were born. Not that long ago. Anyway, yeah, the whole area though, you've got to pass back and forth, and whoever wins things, whoever has the most power, France doesn't do very well in the wars. So they kind of like give them prizes, consolation prizes for doing stuff. But I want you to think about that. That's what it looks like. I've got another picture for you. One more picture. One more picture. You're gonna like it. It's a good picture. It's a good picture. Look, this is what England's like. It's like an octopus filling up everything. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna finish this and do the picture.
Technically, that's not an octopus because that's more than